You're listening to Trax FM's podcast. If you've enjoyed our content, more podcasts are available on the RTM Click app and website. Let us know what you think. Please email us at traxfm.rtm@gmail.com. Like and follow us on social media at Trax FM Official.
Good morning, everybody. Aloha and welcome back to the second hour of Trax FM's Trax Momentum. We just heard the news at 11 a.m. with the one and only Peter Carlos. And right now, we have come into another brand new hour of the show. And in moments from now, approximately about 6.5 minutes or 5.5 minutes, we'll be kicking things off for our interview feature of the day, which comes to you by way of Spectrum on Momentum. And I'll be speaking to two dynamic individuals who will shed some light on a sport that is growing in popularity in our country, very similar to the sport of American football, but less contact. It's called flag football. And you want to know more about that? Stay tuned, stick around. Don't you dare miss it, because I'll be back on air in 5 minutes from now speaking to two individuals. I'll be speaking to Kelly Khor, the Vice President of Malaysia American Football Association, and also Daryll Nathaniel, the Head of Local Organising Committee, about today's topic. So I'll see you in a bit. Stick around, stay tuned.
Every Tuesday,
we have this segment, Spectrum.
That's how esports really...
We want people to be exposed to what the current labour market situation is.
I will talk about things that you normally don't hear strangers talk about.
catch Spectrum on Trax FM, looking into matters relating to youth, arts, and culture. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Trax FM's Trax Momentum. And now it's time for Spectrum. On Tuesdays, as usual, we have Spectrum, which is part of our 4-hour-long show, the rendezvous that you have with me every Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we come in for the second hour of the show. So in our interview feature for today, we're actually diving into the fascinating world of a sport that is called flag football. Okay, not to be mistaken for soccer, because that's our way of referring to bola sepak. Okay, this is the American way of pronouncing their game. And it's a sport that actually combines the strategy, if I can say, of American football, and also the athleticism that's required by all of the athletes to pull off all of those touchdowns and the throws that you see them do that. And also a bit of a unique twist. And what's so unique about that? I'll let the guests in our studios give them the privilege to talk all about that. And to shed some light on this, first up, introducing the Vice President of the Malaysia American Football Association, Kelly Khor. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing great. Yourself?
I'm fantastic.
And also the Head of Local Organising Committee, Daryll Nathaniel.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Is this your first time for both of you on being on radio?
No, not for me.
Not for you?
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Kelly?
Technically not as well.
Okay, all right, okay, great. But never mind, because as I always say, I start off my show by giving everyone a sort of quote-unquote 4-leaf clover charm that Conti number 5 is a very lucky Conti. So
right.
Whatever endeavor you're off to after this and you set foot out of this Conti, it's going to be successful for you.
I believe so.
So you're off to a great start.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about flag football right now. I'm going to leave it to the both of you. Between the both of you, who's the best person to explain the nitty-gritties and tell us, what is flag football?
So flag football, think of it as American football, but no contact. So American football is known for a lot of tackling, a lot of contact, but for flag football, we are a variant of it, which has no contact. And why it's no contact is instead of tackling, what happens is that every player has a flag belt. And what happens is they will pull the flags off the flag belt and then, of course, return the flag to you. And from there, you can progress forward towards your touchdown zone, or what we call an end zone.
End zone.
And obviously, the aim of the game is to get as many touchdowns as you can. And then there's like the technical parts of like what point after touchdown and whatnot, but essentially it's just that it's a no contact variant of American football. You wear a flag belt and you score a touchdown.
Something very unique about how the Americans refer or give terms to their sport. In American football, the pitch is sometimes referred to as the gridiron.
Yeah.
They give it a very masculine gridiron, and then there's the end zone, there's the touchdown. But it's always most of their sports actually encapsulate glorifying moments. There are always these moments of spectacular moments, short bursts of moments. That's where the magic happens, and then it hits a plateau. The sport, the gameplay sort of slows down again. But I think based on what you told me, Kelly, this is very similar to what they have in rugby, touch rugby as well.
Yes, correct.
Very non-contact.
Yes, very true.
Right? And I think it's really good to propagate a sport like this because it encourages both male and female participation as well.
Yeah.
So there's no discrimination. There's no, only men's sport, only women's sport. Men and women compete together.
Yeah, I think locally it's quite interesting because you brought up gender segregation, right?
Yeah.
And locally our statistics is almost close to 60% guys, 40% girls, which is quite an interesting fact because I feel like that's not something a lot of sports has because we almost have a 50-50 breakdown but of course, sports is sports, so it's a very men-oriented landscape, but it's good to know that women can also come and join and participate in something that they are not too scared of. So that's something that we love about the sport.
Okay. Your thoughts, Daryll?
I think it's wonderful that it's a non-contact sport because, again, like men and women can play, and we can also reach out to the youth, right? Because there are very, very limited sports that like both boys and girls can play at the same time in school. So I think with flag football now being in the Olympics and us growing widely in Malaysia, this opens more opportunities for everyone to just come and learn a sport and just play together and have fun.
Yeah. So for the benefit of some of our listeners who probably who have got a bit excited after listening to the preamble that you gave about the sport, how do they participate if they want to, sort of just get their hands on the sport? How do they do that?
I think the easiest thing is to go on Instagram and just drop us a message. So it's at flagfootball_Malaysia. So at FLAGFOOTBALL_Malaysia. And we'll just hook you up with one of the teams and clubs that are around your area.
Okay. All right. Great. Now, Daryll and also Kelly, let's dive into some of the lesser-known things about flag football that some average sports fan might not really be interested. The rules, the intricacies, the lesser-known things. Now, the general consensus out there is, and I speak for the many people, including myself at one point, until I started watching the Super Bowl, that's when things changed, is that American football is kind of sort of a very complicated sport for you to understand. It's not something that is as easy as 22 men chasing after a ball.
Yes.
And running
Into a net.
Yes. Scoring, or let alone 10 men chasing after a ball to dunk it into a basket.
Yeah.
Right? So tell us things that we don't really know about the sport and, the intricacies, the rules. How do you score points or how do you gain an advantage? Things like that.
So I think to talk about what the sport is like, right? So essentially, it's it's obviously a pitch, and it's I believe there was 70 yards, right?
Yeah, 70 yards by 25 yards.
Okay.
And what happens is the pitch is then broken down by the amount of yards. So to gain your advantage, you have 4 tries to get to the half line. The half line is about 20 yards past the starting line of scrimmage. So the line of scrimmage is basically where every team starts their offense. Yeah. So what they do is you have 4 tries to progress past that first bracket, and then after that you have another 4 tries. If you pass that line, the center line, you have another 4 tries to then obviously get to touchdown. And I think you mentioned things like those small momentous times in the game,
Bursts
right?
of moments, yeah.
And one very common one that we've both seen throughout a lot of the local tournaments is that you will have one runner that starts from the line of scrimmage and runs all the way to the touchdown zone on their first try.
Okay.
So that's something that, like, when you see it happen, you're just like, how did that actually happen? Because it's a 70-yard run. It's a big run. But that's something that's pretty one of those like big highlight moments of any tournament.
Yeah, and just to add on to Kelly, about the line of scrimmage. So whenever we teach youth, this is something that they all find it really interesting. So when we tell them, okay, so you line up at the line of scrimmage, right? Every play starts at the line of scrimmage. And then they'll ask us where the line of scrimmage is. And we're like, there's an imaginary line where the ball is. And then you're like, imaginary? What sport has an imaginary line? So it's kind of like where the ball is placed. That is the plane where everyone has to line up, and that's the starting point. So kind of like rugby, where I guess when someone gets tackled and then you get the ball in, so that's where the plane
scrum
is.
and then
scrum,
you start
yes,
the line
that's
of
it.
play from there.
Yeah.
Right. And how did the both of you get involved in this sport? Maybe Kelly, start off with you.
For me, I started this sport actively last year, and obviously I was playing last year. And then when I got elected into the committee, I took a step back from playing and then to focus on just the growth of the association and the sport and the community. And I got to know it from a friend. Actually, it was quite a funny story. It's just basically that I was playing futsal with a few friends. This one friend was quite active in the flag football scene, connected me with another friend who was active in the flag football scene, and then I guess you can say the rest is history.
And you, Daryl?
So I started in 2008.
Wow.
So a long time ago, a friend came back from the US, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to come and join me for football?" And back then we played contact football, and I was just like, "Yeah, sure, let's just figure this out," because I thought it was soccer. So I went to the field, and I'm just like, "What is this?" And being a big guy, and we were like, I think like 18 years old, because it being contact football, it was like heaven for me. Like we get to hit people, like, and then like I just fell in love with the intricacy of the sport, because as much as you look at it on the field and you go, yeah, it's just 22 men just hitting each other and just tackling each other. Yeah. I always say football or flag football is like chess, but with human pieces.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of time to just kind of like sit down and think, like, how do I move this and how do I move that so that I can reach the end zone or to score a touchdown at the end of the day.
How many players in the team?
For flag football, it's 5 aside. So 5 aside on the field, but one team has 12 players. So it's an unlimited substitute like most American sports.
Well, both of you are fans of the sport of American football as young kids growing up, as teenagers? Because you do look like an Eagles fan, I guess.
Oh, yes, I'm a huge Eagles fan, but I became an Eagles fan only after I started playing football.
Right.
Again, I think this misconception about it, like in Malaysia, which even I had, was that football was same like rugby, or American football and rugby are the same things, but they're two totally different sports. It's kind of like badminton and tennis. They look alike, but it's two totally different sports.
Yeah. But do you guys also wear shoulder pads and helmets as well when you play, or you just...
For flag football now, no, it's totally non-contact. All you need to do is bring a pair of cleats, a water bottle, and everything else is there. Yep.
I think this approach is kind of can make it a bit more appealing to parents as well, because the moment you talk about impact sports or contact sports, and parents, especially now, they're scared by things like CTE, and that's something that's sort of circling around American football athletes. They don't really enjoy a good quality of life after they retire from the sport because of the continuous amount of contact that they sustain. But anyway, we'll continue with our discussion. We'll jump in for a very quick break, and then when we come back, I will resume my discussion with Khor, the VP of Malaysia American Football Association, and also Daryll Nathaniel, the head of local organizing committee for MAFA. Keep it right here on Spectrum at Tracks Moment.
Every Tuesday,
We have this segment, Spectrum.
That's how esports really...
Yes, we want people to be exposed to what the current labor market situation is.
I will talk about things that you normally don't hear strangers talk about.
catch Spectrum on Tracks FM, looking into matters relating to youth, arts, and culture. Stay tuned.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Spectrum on Tracks Momentum. I'm Anil on the mic, and I'm joined by two very remarkable individuals who are shedding some light on a sport that is on the rise in our country. We're speaking about flag football, and to shed some light on that, I'm speaking to Khor, the VP of Malaysia American Football Association, and also Daryll Nathaniel, the head of local organizing committee. Daryll, welcome back to the discussion.
Thank you.
All right, now, early on in the break, we were talking about an upcoming tournament that is going to be held somewhere within the Klang Valley. Kelly, perhaps you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, of course. So we have the upcoming IFAF, so that stands for International Federation of American Football. So the IFAF Asia Oceania Flag Football Continental Championships. And this Continental Championships is one of three. And we've already got past the first two. The first one was in America, and the second one was in Europe. So of course now it's the Asia Oceania region.
Okay.
And it's happening on the 27th up to the 29th of October, and we will be having it in EV Arena Shah Alam. Okay. So this tournament is going to house 11 nations, so 11 nations that are participating with us, and I think Daryll can shed some light on which nations are coming down.
Yeah, so the nations, let me try to remember it again. Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, India, Kuwait, Japan, Korea. Yes, I got all 11.
You got it all right the first try. Okay. And what is MAFA's involvement in this in terms of organizing it? Were you responsible for looking for the sponsorships and things like that, and how? Or was it IFAF that did all of that?
So essentially, MAFA is responsible for hosting the tournament. So essentially what IFAF has done is just tasked us with hosting it from start to finish. And of course, they are guiding us very closely in terms of what they need, what is required by the federation, as well as what's required for the sports, what was done, the good and bads that were done in the Americas and in the Europe championships. And of course, we do, in terms of finding sponsorships, we do the organizing of the day's kind of schedule, not the game schedule, but just the day of the flow, and then the accommodation, transportation, and whatnot. But I think I'll let Daryll take on this as the head of the local organizing committee.
Yeah, so I think, again, like what Kelly said, right, they've kind of tasked us with hosting it, or we've kind of asked them to let us host it also. It's a mutual thing. And so we are mostly organizing everything from start to end, from handling the sponsors to, I guess, all the way to printing the tags and everything. But the major things like the scheduling and the grouping and the officials and the referees and stuff like that, those are all done by them.
By IFAF.
By IFAF, that's right. And we are basically organizing most of the logistic stuff. And again, like what Kelly said, so we've kind of picked out, the good thing about us being the last one this year is that we've picked out what are the good and what are the bad that was done in the other nations, and we can be the best.
Okay. So, segue from what you mentioned, you touched on something that was lurking in my mind that I was very keen to talk to you about: officials.
Yes.
You see, part of what leads towards the right trajectory for growth of a new sport, a very young sport, is not only participants or athletes who are able to, display the prowess or the skills of the sport, so to speak, but also officials who are able to officiate and carry the sport in a manner where the sport is well respected. Otherwise, you would end up having instances where, you've seen things where combat sports events were held without the right officials, and next thing you know, an athlete has died because of a concussion, which is sad. And the sport has to suffer because of that. And then it kills the hopes of many other younger kids who aspire of someday setting foot in the squared circle. What are your initiatives? So what are the things that you're doing apart from developing the sport in terms of athletic abilities? Officials, Daryll, tell me.
All right, so for the officials, what's happening is that's handled by the International Federation. Every team that's coming down will have to send two referees, two officials, and the head of officials is from the US. So every week they have like an online session where they are teaching the officials, this is what you have to do, this is how you have to do it, and then they also have WhatsApp groups where they share videos and they give questionnaires and feedbacks so that the officials are ready. And this has been going on for the past 2 months, so that when the officials do step on the field, I think a lot of them come down on Thursday for the walkthrough, and then they have their on-ground kind of training and briefing and stuff like that. So all of that is covered for the past 2 months, so that we have the best of the best from the nations, and we have the best officials ready to take the field on the 27th to the 29th.
Absolutely. Kelly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think segue a little bit from the international tournament on the local side. What MAFA has been doing, the initiatives that MAFA has been doing to grow the sport on that local landscape of ensuring that our officials are ready and our officials are prepped with as much information as we have, is that there is continuous development, like clinics, referee seminars that MAFA holds. And on top of that, MAFA has also created a referee committee of sorts that consists of 4 people. And these 4 people, what they do is they will essentially take turns to run the seminars, as well as guide whoever in the community that needs some help with learning like the rule book and whatnot, because IFAF releases a rule book every 2 years, I believe. And that rule book obviously has updates on like the different sports and the different the different rules and whatnot, to ensure that contact is as minimal as possible and whatnot. And what happens then is these seminars help just explain the new rules and whatnot to the new refs. And I'm also very proud to say that locally we've grown the refereeing community, as what we call it, the refereeing community to up to about 40 over people now. Wow. And this is all within our community as well. So it's good that they understand to give back and they learn. And of course, it's very interesting because when you know the rule book better, you become a better player.
Yes.
Right? Because you know you can say that you also know enough to kind of like make sure you don't get the fouls. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it really does help, and I think the fact that they see it that way helps us grow the sport in that local landscape.
Absolutely. Really ensures the sustainability of the sport.
Yes, you are right.
That's true.
You know, especially in contact sports where there's a lot of aggression, quote unquote, right? You know, they say sometimes if the fans sitting at the gallery or the stadium and they're watching gameplay going on right in front of them, as long as the fans think that, okay, this is an aggressive match and we can see both sides going head-to-head at each other, all out for the W, for the victory, that's fine. But the moment it goes beyond the periphery and the players start think that, okay, this is getting a bit too aggressive, this is getting a bit too violent, at that point, the sport dies and the sport just has to stop.
Yeah,
the players just they have to walk out of the pitch for sure.
Yeah.
So officials have to be ready at par to regulate and you get what I mean?
Yes,
Regulate
that's true.
the situation. Yeah. So talk to us about the popularity among Malaysians for this sport.
So I think in terms of popularity, it's still, of course, on the lower end because we are a new sport in a sense of like when MAFA first started up till now, it's been hard to also try and introduce a new sport because people think like either soccer or people think rugby. And we're like, no, we're not either or. We're like kind of in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
And so in terms of popularity, it's not as much as we would like, but with of course the international tournament happening in the coming weekend, as well as of course like opportunities like this to be able to speak about the sport that we love so much.
Yes.
It does help us get the name out there. So at least people, like for example, now maybe 1 out of like 10 people I ask roughly know what flag football is. Before this was like 1 out of like 100 maybe. So yeah, it's good that it's progressing towards just becoming a bit more commonly known. And that's basically our aim, is that if you don't play the sport, at least you know the sport. And that's the first foot, the first foot in the door kind of thing.
Correct. That's like the good recipe for actually build the popularity.
Yes, that's true.
Daryll, you go.
No, I think just to add on, like what Kelly said, I think for us, doing a lot of this right now is about gaining awareness for the sport. Again, if you don't play the sport, it's fine. Right? But just know the sport and learn the sport. And I think one very interesting thing that Kelly brought up also is that the guys and the girls from the New Zealand team have already come down to Malaysia.
Okay.
And they shared an interesting story with me because when they were at immigration, their shirt had the picture of a football on it, and the immigration people asked them, "Are you the New Zealand All Blacks?" then you're like, "No, we play flag football."
Okay.
So rugby. And then you're like, "No, it's football." So yeah, I think the education and the awareness of the sport and the difference of the sport, I think that's something very good. And I think doing interviews like this, and just educating people on it, so that we can just have more opportunities in the future.
You know, I've come across this one research to understand how is it that soccer and also rugby have evolved to become such popular sports in the world, and they've summed it up to only one thing: accessibility. It's that the sport is so accessible and its simplicity as well.
Yes.
So all you need is a ball and a pitch and find two ends to the pitch. Right. And I think flag football has some of those qualities as well.
Yes, we do.
Talk to us about the simplicity of the
sport.
sport.
I think if you talk about simplicity of the sport, when I started playing in 2008, we didn't have a lot of equipment. Shipping from the US wasn't a very big thing because, we didn't have a lot of this stuff. So what we used to do for quote unquote flags, to like simulate flags, is we used to buy like super long socks and put them tuck them in at the side of our pants, and those were our flags for training because we use our flags only for game day in case they get spoiled and stuff like that. So, and it's very simple. We just needed a ball. We just had two.
So do you use an American football?
Yes, we use an American football. And then we just put like 2 slippers, kind of like what we do for soccer, as to mark the end zones.
End zones.
And then we put like socks as flags, and we're like, let's go. So I think a lot of it is the accessibility of the sport.
Yes.
And learning how to and I think for us the biggest thing is learning the rules of the sport, because like what you mentioned previously, American football, flag football, has a lot of intricate rules. But if we can simplify it for everyone, just be like, hey, take the ball, run, catch, stop once your flag gets pulled, and then we just continue to where you reach at the end of the day. I think there's a sweet spot we can find in terms of growing the sport at the end of the day.
I want to put things into perspective for our listeners right now and, sort of take them through into a journey of what happens in the pitch. So, Daryll, picking on your brain a little bit, share with us your most unforgettable sporting moment that happened when you were playing flag football. Talk us through. I want you to imagine yourself as being LaDainian Tomlinson right now, okay? And tell us how you scored a touchdown, so to speak. Anything.
Okay, so I guess for me, like the biggest achievement for this sport was actually the biggest memory for me is not as a player, but as the manager of the team, because this was when I kind of stopped playing. So I started playing the sport again, like really early on, and we never won the championship. We never won gold. We always kept losing. Like I won't say losing. We kept getting second place for like 10 years straight. And then so what happened was a bunch of guys said, this year we're really going to work on getting the goal. We're really going to work on our championship. We brought in 2 captains, from one for offense and one for defense, to really work on that. And I guess the whole team kind of just blended together. And that's something about flag football or like American football. It's not one individual that makes or breaks everything, but it's a total team sport. So I think the one thing that I would say is that the last drive of the final play, this is 2018.
Okay.
Right? It was 2018, the last drive, last second of the play. The quarterback, he took a snap.
Okay.
And he threw the ball at the receiver.
Come on, Daryll,
right?
more drama. Come on.
Okay, so I think the scoreline was like 25-26.
Okay.
We were down by one touchdown, like 1 point.
Right.
So what happened was the quarterback, he had to just score that 1 point. We were like 5 yards away from the end zone, right?
Okay.
So the blitzer was coming in full speed, and flag football is a non-contact sport. I think he slipped. It was a bit rainy that day,
Right.
and the blitzer just rammed straight into the quarterback, and the quarterback fell, and it was an incomplete pass. So the referee threw his flag and said, foul, illegal contact. We will add 1 more second to the game clock. You have to throw the ball at the 1 yard line. And what happened was the quarterback took the snap. The receiver did a whip route, which goes where he went in and out.
Okay.
He threw it down on the floor, caught the touchdown just in front of the defender, and scored that winning touchdown, winning the first goal ever that I can say that I got.
My, oh my. You know what song does that moment deserve?
What song?
Superman by REM. I'll be back after a short break, guys.
Every Tuesday,
We have this segment, Spectrum.
That's how esports really.
Yes, we want people to be exposed to what the current labor market situation is.
I will talk about things that you normally don't hear strangers talk about.
catch Spectrum on Trax FM, looking into matters relating to youth, arts, and culture. Stay tuned.
Spectrum on Trax Momentum is back with me, Anil, on the mic, and I've been having a very great, insightful conversation learning about this sport that's called flag football. And I'm speaking to Kelly Khor. She's the Vice President of the Malaysia American Football Association, and also Daryll Nathaniel, the Head of Local Organising Committee. Kelly, Daryll, welcome back to the discussion.
Thank you very much for
thank
having
you.
us.
You're welcome. Now, Kelly, I just want to ask you a few things. Now, what are your hopes? What are your plans in the pipeline for the continuous development of the sport of flag football? And what are the initiatives MAFA has taken thus far? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of the future, I think it's very simple to me. I think I've said this over many different interviews as well. It's that flag football just becomes a household name. It becomes so common that people just either know it, or you play it, or you've played it before. And that to me, I feel is MAFA's aspiration, because it's, even if you don't play, if you come and help us as officials, you come and help us as stat keepers, as anything and everything, even
Sponsors
in the
are also welcome too.
sponsors, yeah, even like in the committee and whatnot, like if you can contribute to the sport, that in itself will already be development. And I think speaking about development, I think you asked like what has MAFA done so far. So we've been pretty grateful to have the growth that we have right now, and what we've realized is that from last year into this year, there were a lot of, I guess you can say, bench warmers, because it's only 5-on-5, so some people may not get the most game time. And what MAFA has done is create a development tournament. So there's been 2 cycles of this development tournament, and this development tournament is, in its name, it's just mainly for the development of the new players. So we there's like of course, the regulation of like who can play, who can't, and whatnot. But essentially, it's just that anyone who's new to the sport, they can join this, and they actually get game time, so that you get hands-on experience of understanding the sport and seeing if you really love it and you want to commit to it and whatnot. And furthermore, is also the teams that we have locally. So we've got 6 main teams. We've got Juggernauts, Rentap, we've got Immortals, we've got Tridents, we've got Nighthawks, and we've got Barbarians. So these teams that, if you check our Instagram, like what Daryll mentioned before, you can see their pages and see which one's closest to you. These teams are also very equipped with helping you start out. So they've got flags ready for you. Some even have extra cleats ready for you. All you literally need to do is just show up. And see if you want to learn. Just see if you want to learn like a new sport. If you do, sure. If you don't, it's okay. You can maybe watch and see what else you can contribute to the sport. So yeah, I think that's in a long nutshell. That's what.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about the flag football community is that we are very open and very, very willing for anyone new to come and just come and learn. Like if you say, hey, I want to try out the sport, I've got literally nothing. Can I come? They'll say, come down. We'll find equipment for you. We'll just we'll just teach you everything from start to end. For the sport. And to add on to what Kelly said, so one of the things that we're doing now is the development tournament to grow the sport in the future, and heading towards the 2028 LA Olympics, we need to start developing future athletes. So we've even got, like, MAFA has worked with Flag Football Academy called Third Down to kind of grow the sport in the schools. So we've got about 10 schools right now, and we're finding future athletes and hopefully future Olympians.
Have you guys found an MVP thus far? Do you have those awards for the most valuable player, or the most runs, and things like that?
We do, actually. So every tournament that is held by MAFA, we've got most valuable player, MVP, the best offensive player, and the best defensive player.
Okay.
So we definitely award these things based on, of course, stats and also position where your team is at and whatnot, what you've contributed to the team's victory. So we have those kind of awards that we're very proud to always give out.
I can foresee a big league coming up in the next couple of years.
Let's hope so.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think, and that's the goal, and that's the plan, right? And so for me, ever since I started like organizing this, the plan was always, the goal was always to be able to sit at home and watch a Malaysian flag football game on TV one day. And I think that's when I can sit down and say, all of this that we've done, this has accumulated to this at the end of the day.
Yeah. I like what you mentioned, Kelly, is to make sure that every household speaks about the sport of flag football. This reminds me of a philosophy by a legendary soccer player who played for Holland, Johan Cruyff. And he went on to become the founder for the Cruyff Institute. And he had the same philosophy. He wanted to make soccer accessible to every kid. And at the same time, he wanted competitive competition be accessible to every kid as well. He didn't want any discrimination. He believed that every kid, let the kid decide if the kid can play the sport or not. You don't have to set boundaries or set standards for that kid. And he came up with this one formula. It's a deck, actually, that you can download online, where every parent or a group of parents can come together. And it's a blueprint of setting up a tournament. You go and approach your local business owners, how to get your sponsorships, how to set up the court, how to have the entire gameplay, rules. If you don't know how to referee, there is even a short handbook of how to referee the match.
Wow.
And that has gone on to produce lots and lots of, very promising talents as well.
I guess we got to download this.
Yes.
Something to do. Yeah.
All right. And, Kelly, Khor, Daryll, thank you so much for spending your time with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
I had a very inspiring conversation. And, of course, I wish you nothing but the best. And I want to see it that the both of you continuously work towards developing and growing the sport of flag football in our country.
Thank you so much.
You guys have a great day. And we'll see you again soon.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Trax FM's podcast. If you've enjoyed our content, more podcasts are available on the RTM Click app and website. Let us know what you think. Please email us at traxfm.rtm@gmail.com. Like and follow us on social media at Trax FM Official.